She posted on social media, why do men always think they own you? Right after I asked her not to go on a weekend trip with her ex, I didn't comment. Just changed my relationship status to single. She called me 47 times that night, but I was already on a date. I'm a 37-year-old senior account manager, and I need to get this off my chest because I'm still processing what happened. 6 months ago, I thought I was marrying the love of my life. Now I'm sitting in my new apartment watching her frantically text me while her life implodes, and I feel a quiet sense of relief mixed with the sobering reality of untangling 7 years of shared everything. Let me back up. Whitney and I had been together for 7 years, engaged for 1. We weren't perfect. Who is at our age? But I thought we were solid. We'd bought a house together 2 years ago, had $40,000 in joint savings, wedding deposits already paid. She was beautiful, ambitious marketing director at a mid-size firm, had this laugh that made everyone at dinner parties gravitate toward her. At 37, I was ready to lock it down. We'd been talking about kids, timelines, the whole 9 yards. Then Preston happened. Or re-happened, I guess. Preston Vaughn was her college ex, the one she dated for 3 years before me. Senior director at a Fortune 500 company, the kind of guy whose LinkedIn profile makes you feel inadequate. He'd moved back to town in March for some executive position. And suddenly he was everywhere. Group dinners, game nights. Oh, Preston's coming too, hope that's cool. It wasn't cool, but at 37 you don't want to be the jealous boyfriend. I trusted her. We had a mortgage together, for Christ's sake. First red flag. She started working out again. Not normal working out, 5 a.m. CrossFit, new Lululemon every week. Those insufferable motivational quotes on her Instagram stories. She hadn't touched a weight in 3 years, but suddenly she's posting gym selfies at dawn like she's training for American Ninja Warrior. Second red flag, the phone guarding. We used to leave our phones anywhere, knew each other's passcodes. Now hers was face down, always on silent, practically superglued to her hand. She'd angle it away when texting, delete message notifications before I could see the preview. Classic moves that every guy over 35 recognizes instantly. The breaking point came on a Thursday. She mentioned super casually over dinner that Preston invited her to a work retreat in Tahoe, just the two of them for a weekend. It's not like that, she said, twirling her pasta like we were discussing the weather. His investors will be there. It's networking. What investors need you there? I asked, setting down my fork. She got defensive immediately. Why are you being weird about this? Preston and I are friends. We've been over for years. Then why didn't you mention it until now? The trip's tomorrow. Because I knew you'd react like this. I stayed calm. At 37, you learn to control your initial reactions, especially when you've got a joint mortgage and wedding vendors expecting payments. I'm not comfortable with you going on a weekend trip with your ex-boyfriend. That's a normal boundary. She actually rolled her eyes. Rolled them like I was her father telling her she couldn't go to prom. Fine, I won't go. Happy? But she wasn't happy. She was pissed. Silent treatment all evening, slamming cabinets, the whole performance. I went to bed early because I had a client presentation the next morning worth about $200,000 in revenue. I woke up at 5:30 Friday to an empty bed. Her gym bag was gone, but so was her weekend bag, the one she'd unpacked the night before. An hour later, scrolling through Instagram before my presentation, I saw her story. A selfie from the airport, sunglasses, coffee, big smile, caption, "Ugh, why do men always think they own you? Living my best life." The comments were already rolling in, her friends hyping her up, dropping fire emojis. Yes, queen, energy off the charts. Our mutual friends, people we'd invited to our wedding, hitting the heart react. I sat there in my home office, laptop open to my presentation slides, just staring at my phone. I wasn't angry in a hot, screaming way. It was a cold, calculating feeling. The moment when 7 years of shared life suddenly crystallizes into a clear picture of who someone really is when they think they can get away with it. I could see our future dissolving. The wedding in 8 months, the kids we'd discussed, the retirement planning conversations we'd had just last weekend. All of it turned to smoke because she'd rather humiliate me publicly than respect a basic boundary. I didn't comment on her post, didn't text her. I got dressed, went to work, and nailed my presentation on autopilot. Closed the deal, shook hands, smiled at all the right moments while mentally calculating how to legally separate 7 years of financial entanglement. On Friday evening, I did something I hadn't done in 7 years. I called my attorney. Not for divorce, we weren't married yet, but for asset separation guidance. Joint mortgage, shared savings accounts, car loans with both our names. At our age, breakups aren't just emotional, they're corporate restructuring. Saturday morning, after a sleepless night running financial scenarios, I made my move. I opened Facebook, navigated to my profile, and changed my relationship status to single. Then I turned off my phone and went for a run to clear my head and plan my next steps. When I turned my phone back on Saturday afternoon, it was digital warfare. 47 missed calls, 300 plus texts. The progression was almost comical. Babe, what's wrong? Why did you change your status? This isn't funny. Change it back now. I'm in Tahoe. You can't do this to me while I'm here. Please answer me. You're being so immature right now. I can't believe you're doing this to me. My favorite was from her best friend, Nicole. Whitney is having a panic attack in her hotel room. Whatever you're mad about, this is cruel. Cruel? I asked for one boundary. One. And got publicly humiliated for it. I turned my phone off again. I needed to think strategically, not emotionally. Sunday, I spent researching Washington state property law, calculating equity splits, and documenting our financial arrangements. 7 years of shared credit cards, utility bills, insurance policies. It's amazing how intertwined your life becomes when you're planning forever. Sunday evening, I did something I hadn't done in 7 years. I texted Diana Mills, a project manager at a client company who'd been professionally friendly, maybe slightly more, for months. Always asking about weekend plans, remembering details about my projects, that whole thing. I'd mentioned my engagement enough times to keep boundaries clear, but she'd once said, well, if that ever changes, it had changed. Hey Diana, random question. I've been wanting to try that new sushi place downtown. Free this week? She responded in under 5 minutes. Is this really happening? How's Tuesday? While Whitney was figuring out how to cut her networking trip short, I was lining up my first date in 7 years. The irony wasn't lost on me. While she was posting about men owning women, I was proving I didn't need to own anyone to walk away with my dignity intact. Tuesday came. Diana was sharp, funny, and didn't check her phone once. She asked about my work, listened to the answers, had opinions about things that mattered. Around 9 p.m., I turned my phone on to 23 new missed calls from Whitney. I didn't check the texts, but I did check Instagram. She'd deleted the airport post. Her story now showed a black screen with white text. Going through something. Please give me space. The audacity. She wanted space while blowing up my phone every hour. Diana must have noticed my expression. Bad breakup? Something like that. Want to talk about it? Not really. Is that weird? She smiled. Nope. Want to get dessert somewhere else? We ended up at this 24-hour diner, sharing chocolate cake and talking about everything except my imploding engagement until midnight. It felt surreal, having an actual conversation with someone who wasn't calculating every word for maximum emotional impact. When I got home, Whitney's car was in our driveway. She must have flown back Monday morning, cutting her retreat short. She was sitting on our porch steps, makeup streaked, looking like she'd been crying for hours. You ignored me for 3 days, she said before I was even out of my car. You flew to Tahoe with your ex after I asked you not to. I came back early. You came back because I changed my relationship status, not because you respected me enough to stay. She started crying harder. Where were you? I've been waiting here for hours. Out. Where doesn't matter. We're not together anymore. The look on her face, like I'd physically slapped her. You can't be serious. We have a house together. We have a wedding planned. You can't just... Actually, I can. I spoke with an attorney this weekend. We need to discuss asset separation and the mortgage. I'll email you my lawyer's contact information. You've been planning this, she whispered. No, Whitney, I've been ignoring this. There's a difference. The next few weeks were hell. Whitney refused to acknowledge the breakup, living in our house like nothing had changed except we slept in different rooms. We communicated through email and our lawyers about financial separation. The mortgage company wanted documentation. The bank needed signatures for account changes. Even our insurance agent got involved. She tried everything during those weeks. Tears when I came home from work, anger when I stayed out late with clients, seduction, walking around in my old college t-shirts and nothing else. She even had her mother call me. "Cameron, you're throwing away something beautiful," her mom said. "Whitney made a mistake, but everyone deserves forgiveness." Beautiful? Sure. Like a sports car with no engine. The real game changer started when Brooke Patterson reached out to me through LinkedIn. Professional message, clean profile photo, worked in corporate communications. Her opening line, "I believe our partners have been having an affair." We met for coffee at a neutral location downtown. Brooke was exactly what you'd expect a Fortune 500 executive's girlfriend to be. Polished, articulate, probably had an MBA from somewhere prestigious, but she was also methodical as hell and had documentation that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. "Look," she said, sliding her phone across the table. "His company iPad syncs with his personal messages. He's an idiot who never turned off the auto-sync feature." Preston apparently never deleted anything. The conversations went back 4 months, getting progressively flirtier, then explicit. Photos, videos, times, and dates that perfectly matched Whitney's girls' nights and client dinners. Screenshots of hotel confirmations, dinner reservations, even Venmo payments for lingerie. The Tahoe trip, not a work retreat. Preston had booked a couple's suite at some luxury resort under a fake company booking code. The investors were completely fictional, just a story they'd crafted to make the trip sound legitimate. "She told him she was leaving you," Brooke said, her voice steady, but I could hear the slight tremor underneath. "That she just needed the right moment to make it clean." I actually laughed, a short, bitter sound that surprised us both. "When did she decide this?" 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, we'd been at her cousin's wedding talking about our own ceremony timeline and arguing about whether to invite my college roommates. Brooke wanted to confront them together, make a big dramatic scene, corner them at some restaurant, throw evidence on the table, let everyone watch the fallout. I could see the appeal. There's something satisfying about the idea of public justice. But I had a different strategy in mind. "Do nothing," I said. "Let them think they're getting away with it." Why would we do that? Because the best consequences are the ones people create for themselves. Trust me on this one. She looked skeptical but agreed. We exchanged numbers and promised to keep each other updated. 2 mature adults handling betrayal like a business problem instead of a soap opera. That night, Whitney tried one more approach. Came to the guest bedroom where I'd been sleeping, wearing lingerie I'd bought her for her birthday last year. The irony was almost poetic, trying to seduce me with something I'd given her while she was planning to leave me for another man. "I miss you," she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Can we just talk? Really talk?" "Sure. Tell me about Preston." Her face went completely pale, like someone had drained all the blood from her head in 1 second. "What about Preston? Are you sleeping with him?" "No. God, why are you so obsessed with Preston? We're just friends. I've told you this 100 times. The line came so naturally to her now, like breathing, like muscle memory from months of practice. No reason, just wondering why he booked a couple's suite in Tahoe under a fake company code. She tried to recover, stuttering about hotel mistakes, how corporate bookings get mixed up all the time, how maybe his assistant made an error. But I was already pulling up the screenshots Brooke had sent me. "Want to explain this text? Can't wait to wake up next to you again?" Or this one where you're describing what you want to do to him in explicit detail? She didn't cry this time. Just stood there, caught, calculating her next move like a chess player who just realized she was in checkmate. "You went through my phone?" Preston's girlfriend did. His messages sync to her iPad. Technology is amazing these days. "Brooke says hi, by the way." That's when she completely lost it. Not sad crying, pure, unfiltered rage. She grabbed the bedside lamp and hurled it at me, missing by a mile because she was shaking with fury. Started screaming about how I was pathetic, how Preston was twice the man I'd ever be, how I'd driven her to this with my boring, predictable life. "You're safe and boring," she screamed, mascara running down her face. "You're so goddamn safe and predictable. Preston makes me feel alive. He takes risks. He's exciting." "Cool. Go feel alive somewhere else." I will. And when you finally realize what you've lost, when you're sitting in this house alone wondering why no one else will ever love you the way I did, I'll be living my best life. I'm looking forward to being relieved, I said calmly. She packed that night, took half the furniture that wasn't technically hers, but I didn't stop her. Small price for peace and quiet. She left the ring on the kitchen counter with a note, for someone who'll appreciate what they have. I sold it the next week and put the money toward the mortgage refinancing fees. 2 weeks after Whitney moved in with Preston, Brooke executed her plan. She didn't confront them or make a dramatic scene. She did something much more devastating. She told the truth to the right people. See, Preston wasn't just some random Fortune 500 executive. He worked for Brooke's father's company, had been fast-tracked for promotion partly because he was dating the CEO's daughter. Classic corporate nepotism, but it had worked out well for everyone until now. Brooke didn't just break up with him. She scheduled a formal meeting with HR and her father, presenting a meticulously documented complaint about unethical client relations and conflict of interest violations. Turns out Whitney's marketing firm had been receiving consulting services from Preston's company at about 40% below market rate. Preston had been using his executive position to give Whitney's company preferential treatment, essentially subsidizing their relationship with corporate resources. He'd been billing them at rates that would have gotten any other executive fired for incompetence or corruption. It wasn't technically illegal, but it was a massive conflict of interest and clear violation of company policy. The kind of thing that destroys careers and makes people unemployable in their industry. Preston was immediately suspended pending internal investigation. His company had to audit every contract he'd overseen in the past year. Whitney's firm got a visit from their legal department asking uncomfortable questions about their consulting arrangements. A week later, Preston was terminated with cause. No severance, no references, and a professional reputation in our industry that was essentially radioactive. But the consequences kept cascading. Whitney had been posting Instagram stories about her new relationship, including photos from Preston's apartment, which, as it turned out, was actually Brooke's apartment. The downtown loft, the expensive furniture, the wine collection she'd been showing off, all of it belonged to the woman Preston had been cheating on. When Brooke kicked Preston out immediately after his termination, suddenly Whitney and Preston were both unemployed and homeless. Two people who'd been living off other people's resources now had to figure out rent, utilities, and groceries without any safety net. They ended up crashing with Whitney's sister in her one-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. Her sister's boyfriend, 2 cats, and now 2 relationship refugees who'd burned their bridges for love. So romantic. Meanwhile, my life was quietly improving in ways I hadn't expected. Got promoted at work. Turns out I was significantly more productive without constant relationship drama and passive-aggressive text exchanges. Started actually dating Diana, who understood that at our age, you either take relationships seriously or you're wasting everyone's time. Joined a wine club, started learning to cook properly instead of ordering takeout every night. Began sleeping through the night for the first time in months, no longer waking up wondering what fresh drama awaited me. The house felt peaceful instead of tense. I could leave my phone face up on the counter, could make plans without checking with someone who might cancel last minute for mysterious work things, could have friends over without worrying about Whitney's mood affecting the entire evening. 6 months passed. 6 months of steady, boring, predictable peace. Then last week, Whitney texted me. First contact since she'd moved out. Can we talk? I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. We met at a Starbucks near downtown. Public, neutral territory, plenty of witnesses if things went sideways. She looked rough, hair thrown up in a messy bun, no makeup, wearing sweats that had seen better days. The Instagram glow-up had apparently been just good lighting, expensive skincare, and professional photo editing. I messed up, she said without any preamble, sliding into the chair across from me. Yep. Preston and I are done. It was a mistake. The whole thing was a huge mistake. Okay. She stared at me like she was waiting for something more, some reaction, some emotion, some sign that her admission meant something to me. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Whitney? She started crying. Not the manipulative tears from before, but genuine exhaustion. I want to come home. That's not happening. We were together for 7 years. You're just going to throw all of that away? The entitlement. Even after everything, the lying, the cheating, the public humiliation, the months of legal complications, she thought she could just come back, like our relationship was a job she could quit and then reapply for when the new position didn't work out. I didn't throw anything away. You did. When you chose to sneak around with your ex for months, when you lied to my face repeatedly, when you posted about me owning you because I had one reasonable boundary, I made a mistake. No, you made about 100 choices. Every text to Preston, every lie about where you were going, every time you gaslighted me into thinking I was crazy for being uncomfortable. Each one was a choice. She tried to grab my hand across the table. I pulled away. "I'll do anything," she said, desperation creeping into her voice. "Therapy, couples counseling, whatever you want. I'll delete social media. I'll get a new job in a different city if that's what it takes. I want you to learn from this. Just not with me." Her face crumpled. "Cameron, please. I know I fucked up. I know I hurt you. But people make mistakes. People grow. Don't I deserve a second chance? You had 7 years of chances. You chose to end it when you chose Preston. But I chose wrong. I see that now. It was just excitement. It wasn't real. What we had was real. What we had was real. Past tense. You killed it when you decided I was boring and predictable, remember? When you said Preston made you feel alive and I was just safe." She was crying harder now, the kind of crying that attracts attention from other customers. A teenage barista kept glancing over, probably wondering if she should call someone. I was stupid. I was scared of getting married, of settling down, and I made the worst decision of my life. But doesn't 7 years count for something? It counts for why this hurts so much. It counts for why I trusted you completely. And it counts for why I know exactly who you are when you think you can get away with something. I stood up, leaving my coffee half finished. "I hope you figure out what you actually want, Whitney, but you're not going to figure it out with me." "Cameron, wait." But I was already walking to my car. Diana texted me as I was pulling out of the parking lot. "How'd it go?" "Exactly like I expected." "You okay?" "Better than okay." And I was. The mortgage refinancing had gone through in my name only. The joint savings account had been split according to our documented contributions. Turned out I'd contributed about 70% over the years, which surprised exactly no one who knew us. The wedding deposits were gone, but that felt like a bargain price for clarity. The funny thing about betrayal at our age is that it teaches you what really matters, not the excitement or the drama or the feeling of being alive, but honesty, respect, and someone who treats your boundaries like they matter instead of obstacles to negotiate around. I learned I don't need games or emotional manipulation or someone who thinks my stability is boring. I need a partner who understands that at 37, we're building something sustainable or we're wasting each other's time. Whitney learned that Instagram stories aren't real life, that feeling alive doesn't pay rent or build credit or create the foundation for actual happiness. She learned that stable men who respect themselves don't take you back just because you're finally ready to appreciate what you had. Preston learned that syncing your phone to your girlfriend's iPad is catastrophically stupid when you're cheating on her with corporate resources. Brooke learned she's strategically brilliant and doesn't need anyone's approval to protect her interests and her father's company. And somewhere in all this mess, I learned that changing your relationship status to single isn't giving up or being petty or cruel. Sometimes it's the most honest thing you can do. Sometimes it's setting yourself free. Diana and I are taking it appropriately slow. She knows the whole story and jokes that she should send Whitney a thank you card for making me available. We went to a wine tasting last weekend. She asked thoughtful questions about the varietals and didn't check her phone once. It's refreshing being with someone who treats your time and attention like they have value. I haven't heard from Whitney since the Starbucks incident. Blocked her on everything, changed my number, moved on completely. Her sister occasionally likes my LinkedIn posts, which is weird but harmless. Not my circus anymore. Sometimes I think about those 7 years, what they meant, whether they were wasted time. But I've realized that time spent learning what you won't tolerate isn't wasted. It's education. And at 37, I finally graduated with a degree in self-respect. The best part? I sleep through the night now, wake up excited about the day ahead, and never once wonder what drama is waiting in my phone. Turns out boring and predictable is exactly what happiness looks like when you're finally mature enough to recognize it.